Whether it's in a wood, a park, or simply in our back gardens, many of us have at some point photographed flowers. But what equipment should you use for this? And what techniques will help you to take more striking images? First, equipment. For most people, the best choice will be a mirrorless or DSLR camera, together with a macro lens to allow for close focusing. A tripod will also help with more accurate framing, and will also allow for a broader range of shutter speeds and apertures to be used. You may also find a clamp to be helpful, to keep flower heads steady, and also to hold useful items such as a reflector. One of the main attractions of flowers is their colour, and selecting a vivid colour option on your camera is the quickest and easiest way to give them an extra punch, although if you're shooting raw images, you can adjust this to taste later. You may be able to adjust saturation in camera too, although be careful not to go too far, as you can start to lose detail in one of your colour channels. If your camera's histogram shows separate red, green and blue readings, this can help you to check whether any particular colour channel is losing detail. With metering, it's possible to get good results using your camera's standard evaluative or matrix metering pattern, although the center-weighted option will bias the exposure towards the main subject, while the spot option can also be used when the subject only occupies a small portion of the frame, or when the light it reflects is very different to that of its surroundings. One common issue with exposure occurs when photographing a flower head that's only partially open, in that it will be typically darker than its surrounding details. You could use the spot metering option here to bias the exposure for the inside of the head, although this will affect the exposure for the rest of the scene. One alternative method is to use a torch to shine a little extra light inside the head. When shooting with a macro lens, depth of field can be so shallow that it renders only part of what you want in focus, perhaps the stamen but not the petals, or the other way around. Here, closing down your aperture will help, although you should make sure that your shutter speed is fast enough for both hand holding and to capture the flower sharply against any wind. If you can, use a tripod. Using a tripod will also help you to check exactly what's in focus by allowing you to zoom into the details in the scene on your LCD, or to use focus peaking in conjunction with manual focusing. If your camera has a focus peaking option, check to see whether you can change the colour of the highlights to provide a better contrast against the subject, as the default colour may be the same colour as the subject and will therefore be a less accurate guide to correct focus. Your subject is important, but you should also pay attention to what's in the background, as this will also form a part of your image. Colourful flowers, for example, stand out well against dark backgrounds, although something else that will help is to look for complementary colours. As a general guide, reds go well with greens, blues with oranges, and yellows with purples. Greens and purples are also a pleasing combination, and blues and yellows work well too, so you could try capturing yellow flowers against a clean blue sky. Knowing what kind of colour combinations work well is also useful when shooting indoors, perhaps in a studio environment where you have more control over your background and its colour. To make your images more interesting, try capturing your subject from a variety of angles. Another thing to try is to add another element to your scene for interest, perhaps by waiting for a bee to settle or by spraying water from a spray bottle or atomizer. For more tips and advice, visit us on Twitter, Facebook or Google+, or check out wexphotographic.com/blog.